real focus of this book is to help chiefs today and those that will lead organizations in the future about how to position their organizations to be successful over the next 3 decades. Because I truly believe that over the next 3 decades, we're going to see some significant changes, probably the most changes that the fire service has ever faced in a very, very short period of time. In fact, I think we'll see more changes in the next 30 years than we've seen since 1736, when Ben Franklin formed the first fire company in Philadelphia. If you look at the technology applications that are already emerging today that will change the very way in which we respond, and how we then use technology to improve the safety of our firefighters on the scene is going to be significant. And just a couple of examples. There'll be a day, and I think it'll be in the next probably 15 years, where we're going to see a fire truck pull up, and it'll be an electronic fire truck, by the way, because that's already an emerging technology that's being adopted and adapted to very, very quickly, at least in the US. But we'll see a fire truck pull up, and there'll be robotics that are launched from that fire truck that will minimize the workload for the firefighters that are riding on that piece of equipment. So I think that's going to be one significant change that occurs. I've often said, at least since I became a fire chief, that a firefighter's job is it's a blue collar job that requires a PhD, because you're going on in situations where it really is very hard hands-on work, but the skill set and the level of information that our firefighters and first responders have to deal with today really require a PhD level of education. I think as we move into the future, I think what we're going to see is a finessed deployment package, where we will have a core of suppression units, fire and ladder companies, but we're also going to see the introduction and use of behavioral health specialists, social service workers, advanced providers such as nurse practitioners and PAs in the field, and we're already seeing that. And so that's going to continue to grow and develop. And I think what we're going to see is a very hybrid system by which we are no longer a fire and emergency services, but we're a public health and service agency, and we're going to incorporate many, many aspects of safety under our umbrella, and our system is going to look different. We'll have to. When I started as a firefighter and an EMT at the time, I mean, we may have had 1 or 2 or 3 traumatic calls in a month. Our firefighters and our paramedics today are seeing sometimes 2 and 3 traumatic events a day. So their call volume is increased, but the type of calls, the traumatic calls, the violence-related calls and the drug overdoses that they're going on a daily basis. Sometimes companies are going on multiple, significant incidents every day. It's taken its toll. But I think one of the things that we really have to look at is just our shift work. I think is killing our firefighters and our first responders. I think we have to look at giving them a realistic workload per day, so that they're not up 24 hours a day running 30 or 35 calls. I think that's just, it's not healthy. One of the best ways that we could diversify our workforce very, very quickly is to diversify our deployment package. Because the fact of the matter is, we haven't built, we built everything around big, strong people, that can do this heavy lifting. Well, heavy lifting, the fire responses that we go to today and the responses that really require what we test for today are about 4 to 5% of our total call volume. So, I mean, the best way to diversify your workforce is diversify how you're deploying your resources and how you're doing that. So if you use advanced providers, behavioral health specialists, social service workers, that gives you a whole nother arena of people to hire from and opens up the opportunity for them to be part of your system. I think we've seen a few situations here in the last couple of years where we've seen firefighters hired that have had prosthetics and have been able to pass the test, and they're doing great. I've also seen a couple of stories where firefighters have lost a limb and have been able to come back to full duty. So I think those are inspiring stories, and I think it also shows that it's a mindset change, I think, in the fire and emergency services, because 10 years ago that may not have happened. I also think it opens up the door for other people with other disabilities to come in and knock on that door on the front end and say, I want to participate. And so I think it really starts organizationally with how we're designing our testing process. Oftentimes our testing process, again, is very regimented in past practices, and it's very, very, very difficult. So again, as we diversify our deployment, should open up opportunities for others to enter not only our service from a total perspective, but also from a field perspective as well. And I think, again, as we talk about doing a diverse and inclusive organization and enrolling that into our strategic planning process, we have to include people with disabilities as well. I think we have about, 4.5%, 5% of the workforce in the fire and emergency services is made up of females. So, I think we have a ways to go. I think I think our testing process is designed, and I think it has been designed in the past to eliminate females. And I think we have to get realistic about what we're asking people to do. One of the things that has been troubling to me from just a entry level standpoint, from a testing process, is we test at a very, very high level when you enter the fire service, but we never test the people once they're on the job annually to make sure that they can still do their job. And so there's a baseline level of performance that we should probably be measuring as you get older, because evidently they can still do the job when they're 25 years on the job, but we haven't really tested them since the day they got hired. So I know there's a lot of debate about that, but the fact of the matter is, I think our testing process on the front end sometimes is so difficult because we weren't the biggest and the strongest. And in some cases, I think it's been a barrier to some females, and I think we need to really take a hard look at that.